Gargoyles are these really ornate statues that typically are on buildings or in front of buildings. But what if they were more than just statues? What if they were real? Hi, my name's Brittany, and if you're not subscribed already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and go ahead and give this video a like and get ready to comment all of your thoughts on these fantastical creatures. With that, let's dive in. 13th century France is said to be when carvings of these warped looking animals started appearing. However, some believe they were actually derived from Egypt and Greece. They are found on an architectural structure and are actually originally designed as a spout to keep rainwater from going down into the building, causing structural damage. Nowadays, gargoyles are more for decoration purposes, and it's said that no two are alike. Nobody really knows why that's the case, but some believe that gargoyles ward off the devil or evil, and others say that they're just meant to remind people of the perils of evil. The most common building for gargoyles to have been on used to be religious buildings and churches. They were essentially guarding the church. They also served as symbols of the church's power and authority, reminding people of the importance of faith and devotion. The word gargoyle actually comes from the Old French word gargoule, I think I said that right, which means throat or gullet. The word is used to describe the sound that is made when water passes through the throat and mixes with air. In Italian, a gargoyle is called a dacione o grand sporgente. I'm really bad at pronouncing things, but it translates to protruding gutter. And in German, they're called Wasserspier, which means water spewer. And in Dutch, they're called water power, which means water vomiter. Even though gargoyles look fierce and maybe a little evil or mean, they're actually known to be benevolent. They would offer protection and guidance to those who sought it. They're also said to be an actual mythical race instead of just a statue. The gargoyles in Egypt and Greece were depicted as grotesque creatures with human-like features. They would often have horns and fangs, and these gargoyles were associated with demons and other evil spirits, and were said to be protectors of the church. The oldest gargoyle is 13,000 years old and is actually located in Turkey. It's a form of stone crocodile. Ancient gargoyles typically took the form of native animals instead of mythical ones. The gargoyles in ancient Egypt and Greece were almost all lions. The Egyptian ones would often have hieroglyphics carved into them. The Temple of Zeus originally had 102 marble gargoyles, which depicted lion heads. The marble was really heavy, as you would expect, and because of erosion and the weight of the gargoyles, a lot of them fell off the temple. Today, only 39 are left. Lion-headed gargoyles were also common in Pompeii, and many of the villas and buildings were actually modeled from Greek architecture. The lion stayed a very popular choice for gargoyles throughout medieval times because lions used to represent the sun. A lion statues would fall when they became associated with sin and pride. So naturally, religious buildings no longer wanted anything to do with them. It was incredibly rare to find domestic cats as gargoyles because in medieval times, they were associated with witchcraft and the occult. Other animals would remain popular choices for gargoyles, the most common being the dog, which was seen as faithful to their masters, loyal, intelligent, and great guardians. During the Middle Ages, dogs were actually kept as guardians of households. Another common one was wolves. They were respected and looked at as intelligent and protective. And last, we have the eagle. Eagles were popular choices because they were subjects of legend and were believed to be the only creature that could kill a dragon. Gargoyles are actually quite loved and have been featured in movies, TV shows, and video games. They're seen as heroic creatures that protect humanity from evil. In Harry Potter, gargoyles guard the entrance to Dumbledore's office at Hogwarts. There's also the Gargoyles TV show. They've also been featured on Doctor Who, Futurama, as well as other shows. One of the most famous examples of gargoyles in architecture is the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. The cathedral is known for its elaborate Gothic architecture, which has several gargoyles and grotesques. A grotesque is a gargoyle that serves no function besides essentially being an art piece. Another example is the Chrysler Building in New York City. The building was completed in 1930 and has several gargoyles. Along with native animals being depicted as gargoyles, there's also gargoyles that are a mashup of animals known as a chimera. The most common ones are griffins, which are a lion's head and an eagle mixed. Harpies, which are half woman, half bird. The strix or striga, which is a human-bird hybrid. All throughout time, in different mythologies, you'll find creatures that are a combination of others. The gargoyles in Notre Dame really set the standard for what you think of when you think of a gargoyle, which are having horns and wings. The mythical race. The mythical race gargoyles are often seen as winged humanoid creatures with demonic features. They usually have horns, talons, and a tail. Some may even have a beak. They are known for their grotesque appearance and having exaggerated features such as bulging eyes, sharp teeth, and pointed ears. This leads us to the first true gargoyle. This legend is from French folklore, and this is how it goes. The priest Romanus had struck a deal with the villagers of Rouen. Might have pronounced that wrong. He promised to take care of the dragon called La Gargoyle if they agreed to be baptized and build a church. La Gargoyle had a long reptilian neck, heavy brows, and large wings. The dragon terrorized communities near the river Seine. The villagers agreed, and the priest went to the river Seine, where he subdued the dragon in its cave and led it back to the town to be burned at the stake. Because the dragon could breathe fire, its head and neck had a tolerance to it, and it just would not burn. So they took the head and neck and mounted it onto the wall of the church as a symbol of a victory over evil. Some didn't believe that the gargoyles were protectors, but more so evil in themselves. And over time, they were no longer welcomed as guardians of the church. There may be some churches that still welcome them, but for the vast majority, you don't see them on churches anymore, which is kind of sad. When I went to visit the S.K. Pierce Mansion for an investigation, which you should go check out if you have not yet, but they had a gargoyle that was from the Haunted Mansion ride in Disney. And that was actually quite cool. I'm personally a huge fan of gargoyles. I think that they are very cool beings and creations. But there is such a large part of history too, and I feel like it often gets overlooked. These creatures are incredible, and they have such a powerful meaning behind them. I know every single time I see one, I take notice of it. And if you did it before, well, maybe now you will. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video. Let me know all your thoughts on gargoyles down below. And until my next video, love you. Bye.